What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. So excited about this video. If you're new to us
And we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
You're an American currently living abroad. What is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
Okay, so unfortunately, I have more than one of these situations because America. But one that I know specifically that just happened to me recently, I was walking to my car. It was late at night. I was leaving the mall, and this guy was walking behind me, and I was just like, dun 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 dun. What does he want from me? And I got in my car, and when he walked past, I locked the doors. And I was just like, wait a minute. You're not in North Carolina anymore. And it's so weird because I've been so comfortable here. I've went inside of the store and left my car running because it's super hot in Abu Dhabi, and I'm like, let's leave the air going. But yeah, America has really made me scared to strangers. Which, I mean, it probably should because the world is crazy. But yeah, not in the UAE. It's just not that way.
When I was studying abroad in Japan, I got super sick one month, and my host family kept telling me to go to the doctor, and I kept refusing. And when they asked why, I said because I was scared they're going to send me to the hospital and leave me with this huge bill. And then they quickly had to explain to me that that's not how it works, and if I actually needed to go to the hospital, I would not leave with a $6,000 bill just for IV fluids and ibuprofen.
So, as an American living in New Zealand for the last 2 years, I have definitely had a moment of clarity where I realized how the American healthcare system is. So I was watching this cooking show with my boyfriend, and the girl who wanted to win, she wanted to win because she had all these medical bills she needed to pay because she was in a hit and run. So she was hit, obviously, and her legs got super up. But I was like, wait, why is she paying $80,000 in medical bills because she got hit? That makes no sense. So, safe to say, I don't think I'll be moving back to the States anytime soon, especially since I broke my wrist here and it was completely free. How does that work? America, get your shit together.
So for real, just going to the hospital and just needing IV fluids and ibuprofen, because I was in the hospital so much during our pregnancies.
I was thinking about that.
The sickness and always having to get those IV fluids. First of all, when you're really in need of care, you're not really worried about the hospital bill. Really. When it's something that's oh, I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah.
But during that time, when I tell you those bills racked up. It keep going, just for IV fluids. And I'm like, baby, I need to just get one of these machines at the house.
Yeah, I can count on my hands how many people would just not go to the hospital.
Yeah.
They seriously would not go, especially older people. They have their reasons, but I can count on my hand how many.
Listen, when I got to do reviews just to make sure I'm going to be able to get out alive, it's a problem.
A few weeks after I moved to South Korea, I got pretty sick. I got a pretty gnarly sinus infection, so my boss insisted on taking me to the doctor, even though I was like, no, it's fine. I don't need to go. I'll get better. And she took me to the doctor, and I have health insurance here in Korea. I have the National Health Insurance Plan. And at the end of my appointment, my boss said to me, oh, it's 5,000. So I heard her say 5,000. 5,000 won is about $5 US. But in my head, there was no way it could have only been 5,000, so I pulled a 50,000 won note out of my wallet and I handed it to her. She tried to give it to the receptionist, and he was like, does she have anything smaller? This is a big bill. And she was like, do you have anything smaller? And I was like, but it's 50. She was like, no, it's $5,000, $5. And I was like, how can a doctor's appointment only be $5?
When my grandfather was dying, we went to Scotland to go and see, him for one last time. And at one point, my grandfather had a prescription that needed picking up. So I pop out of the car, run into the pharmacy, and I've got my purse on me. I don't have very much money with me. I just didn't. And I went in, and I'm just like, okay, I'm here to pick up for my grandfather. This is his name. And I've got my passport out, ready to hand it to them, to prove that I'm who I say I am. They're like, oh, yeah. how's John doing? Here you go. Here's his stuff. Hey, let him know that if he ever needs help with this, you can just call us. We'll send it on down to him. I said, thank you. And then I stood there and they're like, why are you still here? I was like, but I need to pay. And they're like, no, you don't.
Nah, you ain't got to pay nothing.
Everything's free. I never felt more uncomfortable leaving a building than I did in that day.
Heard that before.
It was awful.
I'm a U.S. citizen currently living in Costa Rica. We have to be careful about
Let's talk about that.
It's definitely the healthcare that's getting his butt whipped right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, yo, if the healthcare can improve, they'll move back. For instance, you know what I'm saying?
And it's like, you hear this often so many times, not just from people who have moved, but people who are still here. If you're hearing it so often on the internet, how come nothing has changed? I know these people are voting. If they are this vocal, I know they're voting.
Yeah. You got a point. Yep.
How come nothing has changed?
That's what those votes are for. That's what it's for. People think the votes are just like for presidency. You know what I'm saying? It all charts down to how you're living your life every single day and what you're investing in and what you're basically who you're giving your money to. So
that's why you can't only vote during the time of a presidential election. You have to vote every time an election is coming up.
Yeah, that is facts. That's 100% truth.
of the word American, since the Americas are continents. Anyway, I have so many examples of how the U.S. up, specifically Florida. We got to Costa Rica the second weekend in November. Obviously still deep in the throes in the U.S. with COVID. And coming from Florida where there's so many anti-maskers and COVID deniers, it was surreal to go to these establishments here where everyone's following the Ministry of Health's rules. There's hand washing stations outside of every establishment. There are people taking your temperature to go into grocery stores and certain restaurants. People are giving you distance. Everyone is compliant with masks. And I found myself so defensively postured, ready to argue because I had gotten into so many arguments in Florida with anti-maskers and COVID deniers. It's amazing when people don't politicize a virus.
So I don't currently
I remember that, man. Everybody was fighting and fussing and just, it was crazy times. That was some crazy times.
Yeah, well, we've had a few relatives who passed away from COVID, so that was never a planned matter for us. But what's crazy to me is that there's so many people who just don't, our political system is just ridiculous to the point that there are people who don't even trust what the scientists are saying. That's mind blowing to me.
Political over science? Politics over science, if I must say that way. That's crazy.
I grew up abroad and I have so many. The first one is Common Core math. This one didn't mess me up as much when I was living abroad as much as it did when I moved back. Because believe it or not, when I was growing up, I was taught to understand the inner workings of the math. Like, I understood the math. I understood what was happening in the equations. I knew what they meant. But when I came back, the people that were getting A's on tests, like doing the best in math, had no understanding of what was actually happening in the math. I remember having like right on answers, and I would be getting marked down because I wasn't using the Common Core math.
Yeah.
And then when I tried to use the Common Core math, I didn't know how to do it because it was just steps, and I didn't understand what was going on in the math, and I wouldn't do well. Like, oh my god.
So I live in Paris.
Hold up, man. Before that even started happening, you know what I'm saying, our children definitely experienced it. First of all. But coming up, you know, it's like, yo, you get the answer right. You know it in your head. You can just work it out. But the teacher's like, just show your work, please. And it was a simple way. Now it's like when our children would bring home the schoolwork, we would try to explain to them how we understand it. And they'd be like, no. This is how they wanted to do it, but I don't understand it. I was like...
Baby, they started introducing that when we were about to graduate. So we didn't have to go through the Common Core stuff.
We dodged it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, because what? 1 + 1 is 2. Not all them steps to get to 2. It's 2.
Yeah, it's simple.
1 step.
It's simple.
That's it.
Why make that hard?
Please tell me where I'm going to use that at if I'm not going into a math or science field. Please tell me.
Yeah, I feel like that's our conversations, though. Like, once you graduate, a few years pass, you be like, yo, I haven't used none of them things that they taught us. Like,
The basics. Keep it the basics.
The basics. I mean, learning to read a tape measure at the most.
Yes.
But after that's like
circumference sometimes.
What is that? Y, that pi method.
Y equals mx.
Yeah.
Plus b.
Something like that. Haven't used it yet. I'm just saying. I haven't.
And 2 months ago, I got hit by a taxi.
Whoa.
Relatively hard. I fell down on the street. All these people came. They picked me up. They brought me over to a bench. Someone from a restaurant brought me a glass of water.
Wait, time out. First of all, they tell us don't touch them. When somebody get hit or something like that, they're like, don't touch their body. They may have broken something, and you don't want to further the incident to get worse. They essentially, so that's different. Everybody picked her up like.
I thought she was talking about in the car at first.
No, she got body to car, caught her body.
Well, I'm glad she made it out, because look at her.
Right?
Another woman gave me a handful of coins, and I was like, I don't need your money, it's okay. And she was like, sweetheart, this is your money. It fell out of your pockets when you got hit by the taxi. And I was like, Sonic the Hedgehog vibes, great. The man who hits me goes to call the ambulance, and I said, stop. Do not call the ambulance. That will cost me $3,000 to $5,000, because that's what an ambulance costs in America. And he was like, what are you talking about? An ambulance is €7. I was like, oh my God. Remind me to twist my ankle on my way home from the club. And they'll give me an IV so I won't be hungover the next day. Catch me at the hospital. This is lit.
That's funny.
We are so unserious. Oh my God. She's like, I'm going to do this again.
Right. It's basically free. What happens though, like usually, I'm trying to understand is like, don't a person can they go to jail for doing that, from hitting somebody?
Yeah.
See, that's why we have hit and runs.
Yeah, especially if she.
But she got hit. Person got out of the car and called the ambulance for her.
It was a mistake.
But they don't look at it like that. Here, at least, from what I remember.
Child, you already know. It's just a whole bunch of.
It's like, boy, you got a case on your hand. You just hit somebody. Like.
Yeah, and people want to sue.
It's like, there's so much to it. So much to it.
I'm answering this, but kind of the opposite. I'm an American who was born abroad and then moved to America. I moved when I was 8, and I went from a really nice school to an American public school. And on the very first day, I came in with a snowsuit in one hand and a pair of slippers in my other hand. I was like, where do I put this down? They looked at me like, no, you don't need a snowsuit for class. What? We lived in Sweden, so if you were going to go to recess, there was a fair chance that you might need a snowsuit sometime. So I was embarrassed, my mom took it back, and then I heard a ding 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 above the speakers. When I tell you I was not prepared for 20 to 30 8-year-olds to stand up in unison, place their hands over their heart, and start chanting together, I don't think I can explain how weird that was. And then, nobody taught me the Pledge of Allegiance. From then on out, they just assumed I knew it. And that's just American arrogance for you.
That's funny.
So I
you gotta learn it.
Sweden.
I mean, by the next month, you'll know it. You gotta say it every single morning.
And don't get picked to go say it in front of the whole school. You know what I'm saying? Oh, who want to go? We're going to let you go and say it in front of school tomorrow morning on the intercom. And you got to have your little paper ready. Yeah, you got to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Our senior year, that's when, like, a lot of stuff started happening. Where all of the, killings, the murders of our people started to happen. And so we started looking in our laws and looking at things around us differently. We was about to be out in the real world, how they would tell us in school, before y'all get out in the real world, you got to learn all this stuff. And so we started sitting down for the flag. And I don't know if that was the time of when Colin started kneeling for the flag, the national anthem and things like that. But I remember our teacher got so mad at us. So mad. It caused a whole debate in class about whether, like, where we were. And she heard our side. We heard her side, but we was like, but look at us.
Yeah.
Because, our school was mostly
black. Yeah. I feel you on that.
I'm from Nashville, and I used to have the best job ever in Nashville, but I was always paranoid about getting fired for no reason, because that happened to a lot of people at my company. People get fired, and no one would say why. Like, they would just drop in the group chat and be like, this person's not with us anymore, and we'd be like, okay. So when I was applying for jobs in Sweden, I would tell the employer, I'd be like, oh, job security is really important to me because I don't want to just show up one day and find out that I'm fired. They were like, what are you talking about? That's illegal. I was like, huh? And long story short, it's completely impossible to fire someone
like in Sweden. The company has to prove that you either killed somebody or that like employing you will make them bankrupt. It's like so much work to try and fire somebody. But you can quit whenever you want depending on your contract. But yeah, all my employers were like shocked to hear that I could get fired tomorrow and they didn't have to tell me why. Thanks, Sweden.
I chose to do this even though I'm a Canadian and we have free healthcare, but the reason I'm doing it is because everyone talks about healthcare with this stitch, and guess what? I'm in Greece. I'm in Europe. Okay, so 2015, I'm in Europe. I've got bilateral pneumonia, both lungs full. 2 months in, I'm seeing no signs it's getting better. I can't breathe. I can't even walk 10 steps. I'm out of breath. I'm like, can't do any. Finally, it's life or death. I mean, I gotta go to the hospital, I gotta bite the bullet, whatever they're gonna charge me in Greece, I gotta pay it. So I show up at the hospital, they put me on this ventilator thing, they got my airways opened up, they did x-rays, I still got the x-rays. They did blood work, they did everything. They told me what I had, they gave me 3 different types of meds, and when I go to leave, you know how much they charge me? €5. It's about $6 American. What?
That's hard.
So about a year ago, I ended up going to the emergency room here in the US because I had really bad asthma and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And all they told me to do at the emergency room was to take some allergy pills. Some that I already had at home, and then they just sent me home. And it ended up being $2,000, including insurance.
Hustled you.
Back
That's
up
crazy.
to 2 years ago, I was in China, and I had to go to the emergency room for the exact same thing. And I was like, thank God I got the study abroad health insurance because I'm going to the emergency room right now and I'm really afraid how much it's going to be. Okay. Ended up going to the emergency room and in the end, I paid $4 without the insurance. Didn't even need it. It was $4.
How much? $4 is a little bit of money.
Yes,
Yo.
it is.
But you gotta understand something. Yeah, people need to go to the hospital, need to get themselves checked up on. And when it comes to medication, I can basically just say that scientists and, researchers did all the research for us so they can put it into these pharmacies so they can make us buy it. But in reality, they just did the work for us. If you go back into your cabinet and you look around a little bit, probably got most of the ingredients. You know what I'm saying? To heal something or cure something, especially like if it's a headache, a flu, sinuses. Like a lot of those things can easily be flushed out of you. But you just gotta know the research. They did all the research for you, so that's why a lot of people just go up there and let them do it for them. But pharmaceuticals, they gonna get you right. But you gotta know your little thing or two.
Yeah, you know what I don't like about the healthcare system?
What you got, see?
I don't like that the stuff show up on your credit report. I don't like that.
Man.
Anyway. We hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Be sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon. Peace.